Welcome to Cheating Tales Lab. We're thrilled you've joined us today and truly appreciate your support. We're curious, where in the world are you watching from? Let us know in the comments below. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Architect of Sacrifice. Russell Norton wiped sweat from his brow as he finished hammering the final nail. At 42, his body was hardened not by a gym membership, but by years of physical labor. His workshop, a converted garage behind their suburban Phoenix home, had become his sanctuary these past 18 months. Just a few more weeks, he mumbled to himself, running calloused fingers over the handcrafted jewelry box he'd been building for Veronica. 10 years of marriage deserved something special, something no store could provide. His phone vibrated. It was Howard from the architectural firm where Russell worked days as a project manager. Norton, the Westlake client, needs those revisions tonight. Russell sighed. I'll handle it after my shift at Callahan's. 3 nights a week, Russell bartended at Callahan's pub, a job that bewildered his colleagues at the firm. Few knew the truth. Every dollar from those night shifts went into a separate account, an account Veronica knew nothing about. Russell packed away his tools and headed inside to shower before his bartending shift. The house was empty. Veronica was at her weekly book club. As the hot water washed over him, Russell thought about how they'd met 12 years ago. He'd been fresh out of architecture school, working entry-level while carrying massive student debt. Veronica Blakely had walked into the firm's office with her father, a wealthy property developer. 27, stunning, and impossibly sophisticated, she'd noticed Russell immediately. Their whirlwind romance shocked everyone, especially her parents who had expected their daughter to marry within their social circle. Your ambition reminds me of my father, she told Russell early in their relationship. He built everything from nothing. Russell had taken those words to heart, pushing himself relentlessly ever since. After showering, Russell opened their closet to grab his bartending clothes. His hand brushed against a shoebox at the back. Inside was a deed to 5 acres of land in Sedona, his anniversary surprise. He'd purchased it 3 years ago and had been designing their dream home in secret, working with contractors on his days off. The foundation was already laid, the framing nearly complete. In 3 weeks, on their anniversary, he'd finally show Veronica the fruits of his labor, their future home, built by his own hands, paid for without touching their savings. At Callahan's pub, Russell mixed drinks with practiced efficiency. The owner, Brent Callahan, approached as the rush slowed. You look exhausted, man. Russell shrugged. Deadline at the firm, then Veronica's surprise. Brent, a divorced 50-something with perpetual stubble, shook his head. 3 years you've been working on that house. 3 years of double shifts. Your wife has no idea. That's the point of a surprise, Russell replied, wiping down the bar. 2 more bartending shifts and I'm done. The house will be ready to show her. Then I can finally cut back to just the architecture job. Brent studied him. Well, I hope she appreciates what you've done. Not many women would understand a man working this hard. Russell frowned at that, but said nothing. Despite the exhaustion etched into his face, pride flickered in his eyes. Soon, everything would be worth it. Chapter 2. Whispers and Shadows. 2 nights before their anniversary, Russell was polishing glasses at Callahan's when he overheard a familiar name. Veronica Norton, a woman's voice said from a dark corner booth. She's been seeing him for what, 6 months now? Russell froze, strain evident in his hand grip around the glass. Closer to 8, replied another voice, lowered but still audible. Poor husband works himself to death, while she's living her best life with Dominic. Brent noticed Russell's expression and followed his gaze to the booth. Regular gossips, he muttered. Want me to ask them to leave? Russell shook his head, his face an expressionless mask. I've got tables to clear. That night, Russell drove home in silence, turning over the conversation in his mind. Veronica had been distant lately, their intimacy dwindling to nearly nothing over the past year. He'd attributed it to his exhausting schedule, to the distance his secret project had created. Entering their bedroom, Russell watched Veronica sleeping, or pretending to sleep. Her phone lay on the nightstand. Something he'd never done before beckoned him. Check it. His fingers hovered over the device before he pulled away, disgusted with himself. The next morning over breakfast, Russell studied his wife. At 39, Veronica remained striking, her blonde hair expensively maintained, her figure kept toned through regular sessions with a personal trainer. a luxury he'd insisted they could afford despite their mortgage. Book club tonight? Russell asked casually. Veronica nodded, not looking up from her phone. We're discussing that bestseller I told you about. The one about the wife who reinvents herself? That's the one. She finally met his eyes. You remembered. I listen when you talk, Ronnie. He used her old nickname deliberately. Always have. Something flickered across her face. Guilt? Annoyance? Before she smiled. I should be home by 9. Later that day, Russell left the architectural firm early, telling Howard he needed to prepare for his anniversary. Instead, he drove to Lakeview Terrace, an upscale neighborhood where Veronica's book club supposedly met at Trish Winter's house. Russell parked down the street, a perfect view of Trish's driveway. Veronica arrived precisely at 7, elegant in a black dress that Russell had never seen before. 2 hours later, only 3 women emerged from the house, none of them Veronica. Russell waited 30 more minutes before driving home, a hollowness expanding in his chest. At 10:15 p.m., Veronica breezed through their front door, cheeks flushed. Sorry I'm late, she called out. Discussion ran long. From his position in the darkened living room, Russell watched her set down her purse. Must have been an interesting book. She startled. Jesus, Russ. Why are you sitting in the dark? He flicked on a lamp. I stopped by Trish's tonight. Wanted to surprise you with dinner plans for our anniversary. Veronica's expression froze. I wasn't at Trish's. I noticed. His voice remained eerily calm. Book club meeting somewhere else these days. She recovered quickly. We moved to Adrienne's house. Her mother's ill, and she didn't want to leave her alone. The lie hung between them. Russell stood. I'm turning in. Big day tomorrow at work. That night, Russell lay awake, staring at the ceiling as Veronica breathed evenly beside him. Tomorrow was their anniversary. Tomorrow, he'd planned to show her the house that represented thousands of hours of additional work. The culmination of his love and sacrifice. But first, he needed the truth. Chapter 3, Broken Reflections. Their anniversary dawned bright and clear. Russell called both jobs to take the day off, then watched Veronica leave for her position at an art gallery owned by her college friend. She kissed him perfunctorily, promising they'd celebrate that evening. Once alone, Russell methodically searched the house. In Veronica's home office desk, tucked into a design magazine, he found hotel receipts spanning 8 months. In her closet, hidden behind winter coats, a burner phone contained hundreds of messages to D. Russell sat heavily on their bed, scrolling through intimate exchanges and future plans. By noon, he had compiled irrefutable evidence of Veronica's affair with someone named Dominic. The final piece came when he remembered an offhand comment from one of the gossips at the bar. Dominic Hayes just bought that place on Waterstone Drive. A quick property search confirmed it, a $3.2 million purchase by Dominic Hayes 3 months earlier. A real estate listing showed a sprawling modern home with a pool overlooking the desert landscape. The listing agent's description caught Russell's eye, redesigned by award-winning architect Dominic Hayes for his personal residence. An architect, like Russell, but clearly more successful. Russell drove to Callahan's, finding Brent doing inventory. Thought you were taking today off, Brent said, concern evident when he saw Russell's expression. I need information, Russell replied. 2 women were here 2 nights ago. Corner booth. Talking about my wife. Brent hesitated. Melanie Owens and Dana Sutter. Regular fixtures at happy hour. I need to know who Dominic Hayes is. Brent's face fell. Russ, I already know about the affair. I need to know about him. Sighing, Brent poured 2 whiskeys. Hayes is new money. Made his name designing houses for celebrities. Moved here from Los Angeles about a year ago. He paused. He comes in occasionally. Always with different women. Until about 8 months ago, when he started coming in with the same blonde. My wife. The words felt strange on Russell's tongue. I didn't know it was Veronica until I saw her photo on your phone once. By then, Brent trailed off. By then what? They weren't exactly discreet, Russ. I thought maybe you had an arrangement. Russell's laugh was hollow. An arrangement? He downed his whiskey. I've been working 2 jobs for 3 years to build her a surprise house. Brent winced. Jesus. Russell checked his watch. Time for the final confirmation. I need to borrow your truck. With Brent's keys in hand, Russell drove to the gallery where Veronica worked. Her car wasn't in the lot. On a hunch, he entered the address for Dominic Hayes' Waterstone Drive property into his GPS. 15 minutes later, Russell parked on a side street with a view of the modernist structure. Veronica's Audi sat in the circular driveway beside a sleek black Range Rover. Russell sat motionless, his world collapsing around him. Eventually, he drove to their house, packed an overnight bag, then went to the only place he felt made sense, the Sedona property. His dream. As sunset painted the red rocks in brilliant hues, Russell stood on the partially completed deck of what would have been their home. His phone had been ringing nonstop. Veronica, likely wondering where he was for their anniversary dinner. Finally, he answered. Russell, where are you? I've made reservations at. I know about Dominic. Silence stretched between them. Russell, I can explain. I've spent 3 years building you a house, he interrupted, voice devoid of emotion. Working 2 jobs. Every night, every weekend. That's where the money went. That's why I was never home. A house. What are you talking about? It doesn't matter now. Russell watched the sunset fade. I heard you yesterday. With Trish. What? I wasn't. Don't. His voice hardened. I heard everything. About how pathetic I am, working like a dog. How you're glad you don't have to pretend to be attracted to me anymore. How you've upgraded. Her gasp was audible. Russell, please. I brought anniversary dinner home yesterday. Heard everything through the open window. Left it on the counter when I walked out. Oh God, she whispered. Russell, those things I said, I didn't mean them. It was just talk. 8 months of just talk with Dominic Hayes. Hotel receipts. Secret phones. Planning your future together. Her silence was confirmation enough. I'll be staying elsewhere for a while, Russell said flatly. Don't try to contact me. As he ended the call, something crystallized within Russell Norton, a cold, hard resolve. The man who had sacrificed everything for a woman who had betrayed him was gone. In his place stood someone new. Someone who wouldn't forgive. Someone who wouldn't forget. Someone who would make them pay. Chapter 4, Foundations. 3 weeks passed before Russell Norton returned to Phoenix. He'd spent the time in a small Sedona rental, methodically dismantling the life he'd built. He sold the partially completed house to a developer for a fraction of its value. He resigned from the architectural firm. He texted Brent that he wouldn't be returning to Callahan's. From the ashes of his former life, Russell crafted something new, a meticulous plan for justice. He rented a modest apartment under a corporate name and established a home office. His savings, substantial after years of double income and minimal spending, would sustain him for months. Long enough. On a sunny Tuesday morning, Russell parked across from Hayes Architecture. The sleek building screamed success, floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist design, a reflection of its owner's aesthetic. At precisely 9:30 a.m., Dominic Hayes emerged from a black Range Rover. Russell studied the man who had destroyed his marriage. Dominic was perhaps 45, tall and fit with carefully styled silver-touched hair. He moved with the confidence of someone accustomed to admiration. Russell noticed how staff straightened as Hayes entered the building. Power recognized. Later that day, Russell visited a coffee shop near the art gallery where Veronica worked. From a corner table, he observed her through the window, smiling, animated as she spoke with a customer. She looked unburdened, he thought, happier than he'd seen her in years. His phone had accumulated dozens of voicemails and texts from Veronica over the weeks. He had listened to them all but responded to none. They evolved from confused to desperate to angry, finally settling into occasional messages tinged with guilt and what sounded like genuine remorse. That evening, Russell met with a man named Leo Delgado in a quiet bar downtown. A retired detective turned private investigator, Leo had come recommended through a contractor Russell had once worked with. Infidelity case? Leo asked after introductions. Russell shook his head. Information gathering. On 2 people. Spouse and lover? Ex-spouse, Russell corrected. And her partner. Leo studied him. Revenge rarely brings peace, Mr. Norton. I'm not looking for peace. Something in Russell's tone made Leo nod slowly. What exactly do you need? Everything. Financial situations. Daily routines. Personal histories. Weaknesses. Russell slid across an envelope. Half now, half upon delivery. Leo peeked inside, eyebrows rising slightly. This is substantial. I need substantial information. As Leo departed, Russell ordered another drink, contemplating his next move. His phone vibrated, Veronica again. This time, he answered. Russell? Oh, thank God. Her voice sounded raw. Please, we need to talk. About what? Everything. Us. What happened? I made a terrible mistake. Russell remained silent, letting the discomfort build. Are you still there? She finally asked. I'm here. Just wondering if Hayes knows you're calling. She hesitated. Dominic and I. It's complicated. Seems simple to me. You traded up. It wasn't like that. She sounded close to tears. I was lonely, Russell. You were never home. Working constantly. I felt invisible. While I was building us a future. His voice remained flat. Where are you staying now? At Trish's. I couldn't stay in our house alone. It felt. She trailed off. Like the scene of a crime? Please, she whispered. Can we meet? Talk face to face. Russell considered this. Sunday. Noon. Davidson's Cafe. I'll be there. Thank you, Russell. After hanging up, Russell smiled for the first time in weeks. The foundation was laid. That night, Russell created detailed dossiers on both Veronica and Dominic. What he already knew about his wife filled pages. Her childhood and wealth, her art history degree, her failed attempt at starting a gallery before her friend Miranda hired her. Her insecurities, her desire for status, her fear of ending up like her mother, dependent on a man who didn't love her anymore. For Dominic, he had less, but Google provided a starting point. Hayes Architecture had opened in Phoenix 18 months ago, following successful offices in Los Angeles and San Francisco. Hayes specialized in modern residential designs for wealthy clients, with several celebrity homes in his portfolio. His website featured photographs of him at galas and charity events, always with beautiful women, never the same one twice, until recently. Russell noted that several photos featuring Dominic and Veronica had appeared on social media in the past week, going public with their relationship. Moving on. Good. Let them believe they'd won. Chapter 5. Blueprint for Retribution. Sunday arrived with desert clarity. Russell entered Davidson's Cafe 10 minutes early, selecting a table with a view of the door. He had calculated every aspect of this meeting. His casual but well-fitted clothes, his relaxed posture, the subtle evidence of his 3-week physical transformation. Hours of hiking Sedona trails and sleepless nights had hardened his body, sharpened his features. Veronica arrived precisely at noon. She hesitated at the entrance, scanning until she spotted him. Russell observed her approach dispassionately. She looked both polished and fragile, designer sundress, careful makeup hiding signs of stress. Russell. She leaned in as if to embrace him, but stopped when he didn't move. Thank you for meeting me. He gestured to the chair across from him. You wanted to talk. A server approached, and they ordered black coffee for him, herbal tea for her. When they were alone again, Veronica's composure cracked. I'm so sorry, she whispered. What I did was unforgivable. Russell tilted his head. Then why seek forgiveness? Because I love you. Her eyes welled with tears. Because 8 years of marriage shouldn't end like this. 10, he corrected. 10 years of marriage. Color flooded her cheeks. Of course. 10. I'm just not thinking clearly. Their drinks arrived, creating a momentary reprieve. Russell watched her stir honey into her tea, hands trembling slightly. How's Dominic? He asked casually. Veronica flinched. I'm not seeing him anymore. Since when? 2 weeks ago. She met his eyes. After I realized what I'd thrown away. Russell nodded, as if considering this. Tell me about the book club. What? Your Thursday night book club. What books did you discuss in the past 8 months? She blinked rapidly. Various titles. Literary fiction mostly. Name 3. Her expression flickered between panic and indignation. This isn't a test, Russell. It's a simple question. His voice remained gentle. 3 books you supposedly discussed while you were actually with him. Veronica's shoulders slumped. I don't want to fight. Neither do I. Russell sipped his coffee. I want honesty. Okay. She straightened. Yes, I was with Dominic those nights. And yes, we were involved. But it's over now. Why? What? Why is it over? You seemed happy in those Instagram photos last week. Veronica paled. You've been watching my social media? Should I not see public photos of my wife with another man? His calm tone belied the words. Ex-wife, she corrected softly. The divorce papers came through yesterday. Russell's expression didn't change. He'd filed for divorce the day after discovering the affair, expedited through his substantial payment to a ruthless attorney. So why leave Dominic now that you're free? He pressed. Veronica hesitated. It wasn't what I thought it would be. And what did you think it would be? I don't know. Different. She twisted her napkin. He changed once things became public. Russell leaned forward slightly. How so? He became controlling. About my schedule, my friends. She looked away. About my appearance. The great Dominic Hayes, not quite the prize after all. Her eyes flashed. It wasn't about trading up, Russell. No. I've already upgraded, were your exact words to Trish. Veronica's face crumpled. I was showing off. Being cruel for no reason. You deserved better. Russell watched her cry quietly for a moment. What do you want from me, Veronica? Another chance, she whispered. Not to get back together. I know that's impossible now. But to make amends somehow. To not have you hate me. Russell considered this, then reached across the table to take her hand. He felt her surprise at the contact. I don't hate you, he said softly. Hate requires energy I no longer want to spend on our marriage. She clutched his hand like a lifeline. Does that mean you might forgive me someday? Russell smiled, a small, enigmatic curl of his lips. I'm working on something new. A fresh start. Maybe we can both find some peace. Relief flooded her features. I'd like that. Have dinner with me next Saturday, he said, releasing her hand. For closure. I'd like that very much. After Veronica left, Russell remained at the table, making notes on his phone. Phase 1, complete. Her eagerness for absolution would make what came next even easier. That evening, Leo Delgado delivered his findings. Russell spread the materials across his apartment floor, photographs, financial records, background checks. Dominic Hayes had built his reputation on careful image management. Beneath the successful facade lay troubling patterns. 3 harassment complaints from former female employees settled quietly. A DUI expunged through connections. Most interestingly, evidence of financial overextension. Hayes' architecture was leveraged to its limit, with Dominic's lavish lifestyle necessitating a constant influx of wealthy clients. Veronica's information proved equally useful. Despite her family's wealth, she had received no inheritance when her father died 5 years ago. All assets placed in a trust controlled by her mother, with strict conditions. Her position at the gallery paid modestly, insufficient for her spending habits. Credit card debt had mounted steadily over the past year. Most valuable was the confirmation of what Russell had suspected. Veronica hadn't left Dominic. He had ended things with her after securing a major client who disapproved of his very public affair with a married woman. Now, faced with financial reality and social isolation, her married friends had largely abandoned her after the affair became known. Veronica was scrambling for security. Russell texted Brent, "Need a favor." 2 days later, Russell received a call from Trish Winters, Veronica's supposed friend and neighbor. "Russell? It's Trish. I hope it's okay that I called. What can I do for you, Trish?" He kept his tone neutral. "It's about Veronica." Trish lowered her voice. "She's staying with me, and I'm concerned." "Oh, she says you two had coffee, that you're having dinner this weekend. For closure. Why does that concern you?" Trish hesitated. "Because she's telling everyone you're getting back together. That you forgave her." Russell smiled at the predictability. "And that bothers you because?" "Because she's still seeing Dominic," Trish blurted. "They had a fight, but they made up. He was here last night." "I see." Russell injected disappointment into his voice. "Thank you for telling me. I felt you should know." Trish's voice dripped with false sympathy. "You deserve better than more lies." After hanging up, Russell texted Brent again. She took the bait. The blueprint was clear now. Every measurement precise. Chapter 6, Structural Weaknesses. By Friday, rumors had spread through their social circle. Russell Norton, the devoted husband, was taking back his cheating wife. Some called him a fool, others a saint. All played perfectly into his design. That evening, Russell visited Hayes Architecture after hours. The security system was impressive but not impenetrable, especially with the access codes Leo Delgado had acquired. Inside Dominic's private office, Russell moved methodically, placing nearly undetectable surveillance devices and copying files from the computer. Among Hayes' digital archives, Russell discovered the architectural plans for the Waterstone Drive house, the home where Dominic had entertained Veronica while Russell worked double shifts. He downloaded these files specifically, a crucial component for what would follow. Saturday evening arrived. Russell had reserved a private dining room at Oasis, Phoenix's most exclusive restaurant. Veronica appeared in a black dress that Russell recognized as new. Purchased for this occasion, no doubt. "You look beautiful," he said, kissing her cheek. Veronica beamed. You clean up pretty well yourself. Their table offered panoramic views of the city lights. Russell ordered champagne, raising his glass in a toast. To new beginnings. Veronica's eyes glistened. To new beginnings. Throughout dinner, Russell maintained the perfect balance, attentive but not eager, friendly but not intimate. He shared stories of his time in Sedona, carefully edited. He asked about her work at the gallery, feigning interest in exhibitions he already knew about through surveillance. I've been thinking about what you said, Russell offered as dessert arrived. About making amends. Veronica set down her fork. Yes. I have a proposition for you. He reached for a folder beside his chair. A way forward. Inside the folder were photographs of the Sedona property, not the half-built house he'd sold, but new renderings. What is this? Veronica asked, leafing through the images. My new project. I'm launching my own architectural firm. Specialized residential designs for high-end clients. Russell watched her expression shift as she processed the implications. I've secured investors. The first project breaks ground next month. Russell, that's amazing. Her smile seemed genuine. You always talked about having your own firm someday. Life's too short to postpone dreams. He paused deliberately. I want you to be part of it. Me? But I don't know anything about architecture. You know art. Design. What speaks to people? Russell leaned forward. And you know the social circles I need to access. The kind of clients who can afford seven-figure homes. Understanding dawned in her eyes. A business proposition, not reconciliation. Still, she saw opportunity. What exactly are you proposing? A partnership of sorts. You introduce me to potential clients. Help with the aesthetic direction. In return, you receive a percentage of each contract. He slid across another document. Starting with this one. Veronica studied the contract. $4.2 million for a custom home in Paradise Valley. This is substantial. My investor has connections. Russell shrugged. So what do you say? Interested in a fresh start? Professional, of course. She hesitated only briefly. I'd like that very much. Excellent. Russell signaled for more champagne. There is one condition. What's that? Complete honesty between us. His eyes hardened slightly. I can work with my ex-wife. I cannot work with someone who lies to me. Veronica swallowed. Of course. So, Russell's voice remained casual. How is Dominic? Color drained from her face. What? Dominic Hayes. Your lover. The man who was at Trish's house with you 3 nights ago. Russell lied. Truth, Veronica. Starting now. She set down her glass with trembling fingers. It's complicated. Uncomplicated. We never really ended things, she admitted. But it's not serious. More of a convenience. Russell nodded as if this were perfectly reasonable. Does he know about our dinner tonight? No. She hesitated. He wouldn't understand. Because he believes you're trying to reconcile with me? That I'm a fool ready to forgive. Her silence confirmed his assumption. Here's what's going to happen, Russell continued, his tone conversational. Tomorrow, you'll tell Dominic about my new venture. About the Paradise Valley contract. About how your ex-husband is suddenly making waves in his industry. Why would I do that? Because it's an opportunity for both of us. Russell smiled. Hayes Architecture is over-leveraged. Dominic needs wealthy clients. I have investors with deep pockets. Understanding flickered in Veronica's eyes. You want to work with Dominic? I want to meet with him. Discuss potential collaboration. Russell refilled her champagne. And you're going to arrange it. He'll never agree. His ego. We'll be intrigued by the Paradise Valley contract. By my mysterious investor who has 3 more similar projects lined up. Russell leaned back. Trust me, he'll take the meeting. And what do I get out of this arrangement? Russell studied her. Always calculating, his Veronica. He'd counted on that. 20% of any joint project with Hayes. Plus your percentage of my solo contracts. He paused. Financial independence. Isn't that what you've always wanted? Something like hope flickered across her features. When would this meeting happen? Next Saturday. My investor is hosting a gathering at his home. Very exclusive. The perfect setting for introduction. By the time Russell walked Veronica to her car, she had fully embraced the plan, dazzled by potential earnings, by the prospect of professionally connecting the 2 men in her life. By the time he kissed her cheek goodnight, she believed the deception was hers. As he watched her drive away, Russell called a number saved under investor. It's me, he said when the line connected. She's in. And Hayes? asked the voice on the other end. He'll follow. Greed and ego guarantee it. The property is ready, the voice confirmed. Everything as you specified. Perfect. Russell ended the call, satisfaction warming him more than the evening's champagne. The structural weakness in both Veronica and Dominic had been identified. Now to exploit it. Chapter 7. The trap is set. As Russell had predicted, Dominic Hayes agreed to the meeting with minimal persuasion. The architect's curiosity about a sudden competitor, combined with the lure of wealthy clients, overrode any misgivings about meeting his lover's ex-husband. Russell spent the week preparing. He reviewed the surveillance from Hayes' office, confirming the man's financial desperation. A major project had fallen through, leaving the firm dangerously exposed. Dominic had begun quietly cutting staff, centralizing operations to maintain appearances of success. Meanwhile, Veronica had thrown herself into her role as intermediary with surprising enthusiasm. She called Russell daily with updates, suggestions, even design ideas she thought might impress the investor. Dominic's asking questions about your background, she reported during one call. About how you suddenly have these connections. And what did you tell him? That you're full of surprises. She laughed softly. That he shouldn't underestimate you. Russell smiled at the irony. Good advice. On Friday afternoon, Russell met with Samuel Decker, the owner of the Paradise Valley property, where tomorrow's meeting would occur. A self-made real estate developer in his 60s, Sam had been one of Russell's first clients at the architectural firm years ago. Their friendship had solidified over shared values. Integrity, hard work, recognition of talent regardless of pedigree. They walked the grounds of Sam's latest acquisition, a 10-acre estate with a modernist mansion nestled against the mountains. Impressive staging, Sam commented, surveying the transformed great room. Your attention to detail is remarkable. It needs to be perfect, Russell replied, adjusting a hidden camera. Every element matters. Sam studied him. You sure about this, son? Once it's done, there's no going back. They destroyed my life without hesitation. Russell's voice hardened. Now I'll return the favor. And after? Sam asked quietly. What then? Russell had no answer. That evening, Russell called Veronica to confirm final details. Where's something impressive tomorrow, he advised. These investors respond to visual cues. I bought a new dress, she replied, excitement evident. Dominic's even wearing a suit. Perfect. And you've explained my role clearly? That I'll be presenting my vision separately from his. Yes, though he thinks it's a competition. That we'll both pitch and the investors will choose. Russell smiled. Let him think that. It's simpler. Russell, Veronica hesitated. I want to thank you for this opportunity, for not hating me despite everything. We all make choices, Veronica. His voice softened deliberately. Tomorrow, we see where those choices lead. Saturday dawned clear and hot, typical Phoenix spring. Russell arrived at the Paradise Valley estate hours early, reviewing the setup with Sam and 4 other men who would pose as investors. Each had been carefully briefed, their roles precisely defined. At precisely 3 p.m., a sleek black Range Rover pulled into the circular driveway. Russell watched from an upstairs window as Dominic emerged, then circled to open Veronica's door. They made an attractive couple, both immaculately dressed, both radiating confident ambition. Sam greeted them in the marble foyer, playing the wealthy investor to perfection. Welcome to my humble weekend home, he said, gesturing expansively. Russell is waiting in the great room with the others. Veronica's eyes widened as she took in the opulent surroundings. Dominic maintained his composure, though Russell noted the calculating assessment in his gaze, mentally appraising the property, the potential client. In the great room, Russell stood before a large presentation screen. He extended his hand as they entered. Dominic, finally we meet. Hayes' handshake was firm, his smile professional if strained. Russell, Veronica's told me about your new venture. Has she? Russell turned to Veronica, who looked stunning in an emerald dress. All good things, I hope. Before she could respond, Sam introduced the other investors, successful-looking men in their 50s and 60s who studied Dominic with the evaluating eyes of those accustomed to judging worth. Gentlemen, Sam announced, we have a unique opportunity today. 2 talented architects with different visions for luxury residential projects. We'll hear from both before making decisions about next steps. Dominic straightened, confidence flowing back. This was his element. charming potential clients, selling his vision. Who presents first? You're our guest. Russell gestured toward the presentation area. The floor is yours. For the next 30 minutes, Dominic Hayes delivered a masterful pitch, showcasing his past projects, his aesthetic philosophy, his understanding of how the ultra-wealthy wanted to live. His digital portfolio displayed multi-million-dollar homes designed for privacy, luxury, and status. The investors asked pointed questions about budgets, timelines, and materials. Dominic answered with practiced ease, occasionally glancing at Veronica for confirmation when discussing client relationships. When he finished, the room filled with appreciative murmurs. Even Russell had to acknowledge the man's talent and charisma. Impressive work, Sam nodded. Now, Russell, let's see your vision. Russell moved to the center of the room, activating his own presentation. The screen filled with images of a striking desert home, modern, elegant, perfectly integrated into the landscape. Unlike my colleague, I focus on harmony with environment rather than statements of wealth, Russell began. This property, designed for the Sedona landscape, represents my philosophy. As Russell spoke, he noticed Dominic's expression shifting from professional interest to confusion to dawning recognition. The home on the screen was familiar to him. This particular design holds special meaning. Russell continued smoothly. I spent 3 years creating it, working second jobs to finance its construction. It was to be an anniversary gift for my wife. The room temperature seemed to drop. Veronica paled, her eyes fixed on the screen. Unfortunately, Russell continued, the project was abandoned due to unforeseen circumstances. One of the investors raised his hand. What circumstances would cause you to abandon such beautiful work? Russell smiled thinly. Perhaps Mr. Hayes could answer that question, since the client who diverted my attention from this project was ultimately his. All eyes turned to Dominic, whose composure was rapidly deteriorating. I don't know what you're implying, he said stiffly. No implication, just fact. Russell advanced the presentation. The screen now displayed photographs. Dominic and Veronica entering his house, embracing by his pool, leaving a hotel together. Timestamps showed dates spanning 8 months. While I worked 2 jobs to build a future, Russell's voice remained calm. Mr. Hayes offered my wife an upgrade. His word, not mine. Veronica stood abruptly. Russell, stop this. Now, you wanted honesty between us, he reminded her. This is honesty. Sam cleared his throat. Perhaps we should take a break. No need, Russell interrupted. The presentation is just getting interesting. He clicked to the next slide, financial documents from Hayes Architecture. Let's discuss Mr. Hayes' business practices. For 20 excruciating minutes, Russell methodically exposed Dominic Hayes' professional vulnerabilities, the over-leveraged firm, the client complaints, the projects behind schedule. With each revelation, Dominic's prestigious facade crumbled further. You had no right to access those files, Dominic finally snapped. This is corporate espionage. Actually, said one of the investors, in reality, a financial crimes investigator. We subpoenaed these records last month. The investigation into Hayes Architecture is quite legitimate. Dominic paled. Investigation? What investigation? Perhaps we should discuss that privately. The investigator handed Dominic a card. My office, Monday morning. As Dominic struggled to process this development, Russell turned to Veronica. And now, the final presentation. The screen changed to display Veronica's text messages with Dominic, her conversations with Trish about Russell being pathetic, bank records showing her growing debt. Russell, please, Veronica whispered, tears streaming down her face. This isn't necessary. On the contrary, Russell's voice hardened. It's exactly what's necessary. The trap had sprung perfectly. Now for the final act. Chapter 8, Demolition. The room had emptied except for 4 people, Russell, Veronica, Dominic, and Sam. The other investors had departed, leaving behind business cards and instructions for Hayes to contact various regulatory agencies. Dominic paced like a caged animal. This was never about a contract. This was about humiliation. It was about consequences, Russell corrected. Something you've clearly avoided most of your life. So you've had your revenge. Dominic's handsome face twisted with anger. Congratulations. You've likely destroyed my reputation. Your actions destroyed your reputation, Russell replied calmly. I merely exposed them. Veronica sat motionless on a leather sofa, mascara streaking her cheeks. Why like this, Russell? Why not just confront us privately? Would that have been sufficient? Russell turned to her. Would that have shown you the true cost of what you did? We made a mistake, she whispered. No. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is saying something hurtful in anger. Russell's voice remained even. What you two did was a calculated betrayal over months. While I worked myself to exhaustion trying to build something for us. Dominic sneered. The martyr act is getting old. She was unhappy. I offered her something better. And how's that working out? Russell gestured between them. The man who can't keep his firm solvent and the woman who can't live within her means. Perfect match. Enough. Sam spoke for the first time since the others had left. You've made your point, Russell. Have I? Russell removed an envelope from his jacket. Because there's one final matter to address. Inside the envelope were more documents, these pertaining to the house on Waterstone Drive. Dominic's house. What is this? Dominic demanded, scanning the papers. Proof that the Waterstone property was purchased with funds from client trusts. Russell shrugged. Funds that were supposed to finance their projects. Dominic's face drained of color. That's not. I temporarily repositioned assets. The legal term is embezzlement, Russell interrupted. And your temporary repositioning has left 3 client projects unfunded. Projects they've already paid for. You can't prove that. I don't have to. The forensic accountant who just left will do that on Monday. Russell turned to Sam. Unless Mr. Decker has another suggestion. Sam studied the increasingly desperate architect. There might be an alternative to prosecution. Hope flickered in Dominic's eyes. What alternative? Sign over the Waterstone property to cover the misappropriated funds. Today. Now. Sam produced another document. My lawyer prepared the transfer. That house is worth $3 million. Dominic protested. And you stole 2.8, Russell countered. Consider the difference your fee for avoiding prison. Veronica stood shakily. You can't be serious. Deadly serious, Sam confirmed. Sign the papers, or I call the police. Your choice, Hayes. The next 30 minutes unfolded like a surreal drama. Dominic, trapped and desperate, signed away his home. Sam's actual lawyer arrived to notarize and file the documents electronically. Dominic made a frantic call to his assistant, instructing her to remove personal items from the house before evening. Throughout this process, Veronica remained silent, watching her lover's prestigious life collapse. When the lawyer departed with the signed papers, she finally spoke. What happens to me in all this? Russell considered her. 10 years of marriage. Countless shared moments. All poisoned by betrayal. Nothing, he said finally. You're free to go, Veronica. Free to start over. Just not with me, and not with anything I built. Where am I supposed to go? Her voice cracked. Dominic's lost his house. I can't afford your house on my gallery salary. That sounds like a problem for the two of you to solve together. Russell turned away. I'm sure you'll figure something out. You're both so clever. As Russell walked toward the door, Veronica called after him. Was any of it real? The business opportunity? The fresh start you offered? Russell paused. About as real as your remorse. With that, he and Sam left the room, leaving behind the architects of their own destruction. Chapter 9. Rising from Ashes. 1 year later, Russell Norton stood on the observation deck of his latest project, a stunning residential complex nestled into the Scottsdale mountainside. Norton Architectural Design had quickly established itself as an innovative firm specializing in environmentally integrated luxury homes. The investors are impressed, Sam said, joining him at the railing. 3 units sold before completion. Not bad. Russell nodded. The right clients make all the difference. Speaking of clients, Sam hesitated. Heard anything about Hayes? Left for Atlanta 6 months ago, trying to rebuild his reputation with a small firm there. Russell shrugged. Limited success from what I hear. And Veronica? A fleeting shadow crossed Russell's face. Living with her mother in Tucson. Working at a small gallery. Dating some local business owner. Sam studied his friend. You keep tabs on them. Knowledge is power. Russell turned from the view. I prefer to be informed. The past year had transformed Russell Norton in ways beyond professional success. The betrayal had hardened something within him, creating a man more calculating, more ruthless in business and personal dealings. His firm's meteoric rise owed much to this transformation, as did his growing reputation as someone who demanded excellence without compromise. That evening, Russell hosted a small gathering at his new home, a modernist structure with sweeping desert views, built to his exact specifications. Among the guests was Meredith Lawson, a landscape architect who had collaborated on several of his projects. "This view is spectacular," she commented, joining him on the terrace. "You've created something special here." "Lessons learned from past designs," Russell replied. "Eliminating vulnerabilities. Strengthening foundations." Meredith smiled. "Are we still talking about architecture?" "Always." But he returned her smile, briefly. Later, as guests departed, Russell's phone vibrated with a text message from an unknown number. "It's been a year. Can we talk? V." Russell stared at the message for a long moment before deleting it without reply. Some structures, once demolished, should never be rebuilt. As midnight approached, Russell stood alone on his terrace, surveying the life he'd constructed from the ruins of betrayal. Professional success, financial security, freedom from the illusions that had defined his marriage. Yet beneath it all lay a foundation of something colder, a capacity for calculated retribution that had surprised even him. The man who had worked 2 jobs to build a dream home had been transformed into someone who systematically dismantled others' dreams when crossed. For better or worse, Russell Norton had discovered his true design. He raised his glass to the empty desert night. "To consequences," he whispered. No one betrayed Russell Norton and walked away unscathed. That was the price of betrayal, a price he would ensure was always paid in full. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.